And now some Republicans are wondering why our taxpayer dollars are paying to put liberal propaganda on the air. Now, Republican Congressman Eric Cantor and Doug Lamborn have already called a vote to defund the network, which was voted down in the House. And Senator Jim DeMint is vowing to introduce a bill that would put an end to NPR's taxpayer subsidies. So will the new GOP majority put more force behind these efforts? Joining me now with reaction from the Daily Caller. She's a senior writer and Daily News columnist, S.E. Cupp, and the founder of the Movement Vision Lab. I don't know what that is. Sally Kohn is here. Guys, good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Why? Why should I pay? We're broke. The country's headed for bankruptcy. Why a network that allows one commentator to wish Jesse Helms and his grandchildren get AIDS? But they didn't fire her. Why should we pay one taxpayer dollar for NPR?
All right, let's be clear. This isn't about the Juan Williams firing. I think the Juan Williams firing was a mistake. It was stupid, but it wasn't censorship. But the government, and particularly Republicans in the government, saying to NPR and saying to public broadcasting that we're going to pull your funding because we don't like one thing you did here or there, that is censorship.
That's one issue, one argument. But explain to me why any taxpayer dollars should go for radio when George Soros is donating $1.8 million and they raise, supposedly, they claim, most of their money on air, although there are other sources that say they're not quite as honest as how much money they get. Why should we pay any money for this? What is the function and role of government here?
Look, first of all, this is a trifle in terms of amounts of money. And really, this is the Republicans trying to demagogue and trying to not have to talk about the serious issues.
How about taxpayer dollars fund my radio show?
But we're talking about...
That's right. Why don't we have taxpayer dollars funding Fox News or Town Hall or Newsmax? It doesn't make any sense. Look, NPR was publicly funded for a majority of the 70s and 80s. And the intent was always to wean it off government funding. 1983 rolls around and there's $7 million in debt to us, okay? And so they get a bailout, which is what the government does. And the point was to get them completely off. So they went to the model of getting, private contributions, George Soros type contributions. Why they're still being funded at all right now is a mystery. It's 30 years after the fact. It's time to end it.
First of all, the mystery is why we're even talking about this. Every time that this conversation's been brought up and the attempts to defund have been raised, it's failed because the majority of Americans, 67% of Americans, get their news from NPR or PBS, and it is, according to polls, the most trusted source in news.
So in 2005,
according to polls,
yeah,
Fox News is the most trusted
source. In 2005, it won an award for being the most trusted name in news. I don't know that that's a viable proof
we're talking about
of their influence now, which has diminished substantially.
We're talking about $440 million.
Here, do you believe in freedom? Do you believe in free enterprise? Families are struggling to pay their mortgage. They can't send their kids to college. They can't make their car payments. Real unemployment is 17%. Why should any taxpayer dollars go to that when we can pay down the debt? Or we could help poor people, which is a big liberal cause. Why don't we spend the money on that?
You're really trying to rope me in there. Look, we're talking about $440 million. That's $1.43.
$440 million is real money.
The United States government spends 3.5 times more on office furniture.
That's not an argument.
It is an argument.
This is not. The government should not be using taxpayer money to fund any non-essentials. And I'm sorry, listening to Car Talk every night is not an essential use of government funding.
Let's get really clear. We're not talking about funding NPR. We're not talking about funding Car Talk. We're talking about funding over 1,000 local stations, most of which are in rural counties and areas that otherwise would not have.
You might have had an argument years ago, but with the internet, with cable news, with more radio stations than anyone ever imagined, you know what? If you want to get liberal news somewhere, why can't they compete in the free marketplace of ideas? Hang on a second. Air America, I said at the time I wanted them to succeed. Why? So people would get off my back for expressing views as a conservative host. You know what? They failed. You know why? Nobody wants to hear them. If NPR is that popular, let people donate to NPR and keep it on the air. Let them get advertising like other radio stations.
They do, but the reality is it's not enough.
All of it. Let them be self-sustaining.
This is what we do in a country where we formed a government to protect the common good. These are public needs.
Common good. Liberal propaganda is not the common good.
Okay, let's start with that. It's not liberal propaganda.
No,
the reality
it's conservative right-wing.
No, the reality is, though, that this is a right wing sort of coming out and saying...
Rush Limbaugh is going to be... Would they put Rush Limbaugh on there?
First of all, any media that doesn't huge.
How many conservatives?
Extreme
Give me the name of a
right-wing
prominent conservative
and actually,
on NPR.
I don't agree with it, but polls have shown that they quote conservative think tanks more than they quote liberal think tanks.
Well,
Come on.
there you have it.
Settled.
You know,
That's settled.
this is news, and the reality
It's not
is
news.
NPR devotes 21% of its time to international coverage. Talk radio, across the board, commercial talk radio,
You know why?
1%.
Can I tell you why?
This is a public good.
There's a
We need
reason
an
why. You
independent
want to know why
media.
conservative talk radio works? People want to hear it.
People
It
donate
has
to their
survived
NPR
the
stations
test of the
as well.
marketplace of ideas, which NPR is too
Millions
scared
of
to do.
people donate to
At
their
least
NPR
some of it.
stations
Not everybody
as well.
makes it in radio. All right, that is all the time we have left. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks,
Good to see you
Rod.
both.
Thank
Let not
you.
your heart be troubled. Our great American panel. Straight ahead.